Hello guys, my name is Lizzy for those of you who don't know, and I'm here to bring you a what I read in May or a May wrap up. Now, I haven't been on here for a while, and that is because YouTube is hard. YouTube is hard to start. It's really discouraging sometimes, like wanting to put in so much effort into something but not really seeing the fruition of it. Like, that's fine because that is like the world of being a YouTuber. So I started getting discouraged and I lost my mojo. But I still love books and I still love book talkers, and everything that revolves around books is still very heavily prevalent in my life. And as well as like earlier this year, or maybe around like December, I had like, I'm not even joking, like a 3-4 month book slump. So I read 0 books for 4 months, which was so unknown to me. I always had a book at hand. I was always reading something. So when I didn't pick up a book, like I just was very discouraged, and I was like, you know what, whatever, like I'm just done with this, which isn't very, like, you know what, another reason was because I started playing video games, and that kind of like took over my life for a little bit, which is kind of weird. I know that's kind of weird, but my husband plays video games, so I started playing with him, and that like literally that took all time from my life. But now I have a good balance. I still read. I don't read 20 books a month anymore. I read 9 books this month, which, you know, I think I found my pace with books. I've learned that like you don't need to read 20 books to like be a good reader, or you don't need to read 20 books to like have a place in a booktube atmosphere. Like, you can still read and you could still like give great delivery on books and your thoughts on them. So even though I'm not reading as much, I am still enjoying every minute of it. But I'm back in my groove, and I have been for a couple months, and I've like been wanting to like come back to YouTube atmosphere and just, you know, start back my booktube. I privated all my old videos. We'll see if I make them public again, but you know. So now that I have my little spiel out of the way, we are going to talk about the 9 books that I read this month. And I am going to first start out with this book, which is Things We Had from the Light by Lucy Score. Now, this is the second book in the Knock 'Em Out series, and this follows Knox's brother Nash and a girl named Lena. And this is basically like, I think, a proximity, like she's the grumpy and he's the sunshine. And can I be honest and say that no contemporary romance book should be this long. Like, I don't care that it's full of plot. I don't care if the romance is good. No book should be this long. No romance book should be this long. Like, I just want to get that out of the way. I gave this book a 2 stars. I really did not enjoy reading it. I just don't know that Lucy Score is my type of author. I really did not feel any chemistry towards our 2 love interests. I really did not like the side plot. Like, I just was not interested in them. I didn't feel the chemistry. I did not like, I don't know. And then for like this book and the length it is, like, it just dragged on so much, and I was like, I just want to finish this book and get it out of the way. That's not to say I won't pick up her books in the future, because there might be a book that I enjoy, but this one was not one of them. Like, I did not enjoy this book at all. And I'm like, I understand if you do, because like, I feel like ever since I started reading fantasy more, I've been like almost making that a precedent for romance in books, and really nothing compares to fantasy romance. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. So I look at this and I'm like, yeah, and there's no stakes. Like, are you killing each other? Oh, you just like got off on the wrong foot and now like you love each other and you get proposed to after like a month of dating, and like no one really buys your romance, and it's basically just lust, and you know what I mean? So yeah, 2 stars. Then starts a catalyst for my new hyperfixation of this month, and that is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This book I gave a 3.75 stars. I rather enjoyed this book. The writing of this trilogy and then duology that follows this is truly like no other fantasy I have ever read. The writing is so magical, so whimsical, so beautiful, so like enchanting. Like I have never been so enthralled in a book. The playlists that I listened to while reading these books totally just were so atmospheric, so beautiful, and just honestly made these books so much better. The writing is so incredible. I can't even, like, I could talk about the writing and the style of writing and how magical everything is for like hours. This follows 2 sisters, Scarlett and Tella, and in this world there is a such thing as Caraval, and that's kind of like a game that happens once a year by this mystery guy named Legend, and no one knows who Legend is, but he is the curator of this Caraval. And Scarlett has been writing to Legend, wanting to get an invite, and finally gets an invite. And so her and her older sister Tella go to Caraval this year, and a game ensues, and you kind of just get lost in this world of Caraval and the magicality of it, and like whether everything is real, everything is fake. Like it has that kind of vibe to it. Like it's just so good. I gave this one a 3.75 stars because it kind of got a little slow, but I was still enjoying the writing. I was still enjoying like what was happening. It just got a little slow, but I knew like, okay, like if this gets better from here, like I'm gonna enjoy this series a ton. So then after I picked up Caraval, I went into the next book directly after, and that is Legendary, and I gave this book a 4 stars. I enjoyed this one way more than Caraval, and I think the reasoning for that is because this took a totally different plot, and it's from a totally different POV. This is from her sister Tella's POV, and the plot in this book, the mystery of it, the same writing, it just was way more like easy to follow. The pacing was just so incredible. Like I just really fell in love with the vibe of this book, the characters, the like whole mystery element, the whole like, I just loved it so much. And then directly after Legendary, I went into the last book in the trilogy, and that is Finale. And I gave this one a 5 stars. This one was so, it was so good. I literally fell in love with everything about this series after this book. Like I was like, I don't know if I can pick up another fantasy if it does not revolve around this world and these elements. And Jax, like, oh my gosh, like it was, you get introduced like this character named Jax, and he just like, it's just so good. It's so good. This trilogy truly like set the precedent for like other fantasies for me. I just loved the pacing. The plot was so good. I just truly fell in love with the trilogy after reading this one. So this trilogy has another trilogy after it, set in the same worlds, but not the same characters, not all the same characters. Only one character is set in the next trilogy after, and there's always like a debate whether you need to read these like before you read Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After, or like not. And some people just like kind of leave these books in the dust and continue on to Once Upon a Broken Heart, but you know, Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After, which is fine because like nothing that follows these continues into these, like nothing plot. But there's a character you meet in these books named Jax, and he is one of the main characters in Once Upon a Broken Heart, and you kind of fall in love with him. Like you fall in love with him in these books. At least I did, and I think a lot of people did. Like Jax became such like an amazing character. He just has so much mystery, and I like loved him so much. And you kind of like like know his story, you know the depth of his character, and you just start to appreciate him a lot more. And then you go into Once Upon a Broken Heart, and this follows a girl named Evangeline and the Prince of Hearts, Jax. So for this one, I just literally fell head over heels for the plot, the characters, everything about this series is just totally, the writing style continues into this trilogy, and it was just so enchanting and whimsical and beautiful, and it was just so good. So then after you read Once Upon a Broken Heart, the next book that follows is The Ballad of Never After, and this book was a 6-star. Like, this one was literally incredible. The ending of this book, I have never cried so much in a book, and I cry all the time. The ending of this book destroyed me. I literally could not move. I read it, and I was just like, tears were just streaming down my face. And of course my husband came home at the worst time. Like, if I'm crying about a book, don't engage with me, because you're not gonna understand why I'm crying. You're gonna think I'm weird, because you're like, why is she crying about ink on paper? Does anyone know why that happens? I'm just a very emotional person, and I hyperfixate on things a lot, and I hyperfixated on the people in this book, and my heart broke. If you read this book, you know the ending is quite abrupt, and you really have nothing to follow after this, because the next book isn't coming out till October, and it's not even summer yet. So my question is, how do we get an early release? Like, if we could get, hey Stephanie Garber, if you're reading this, if we get an early release for, what's today? Today's like May 4th. If we could get it for May 5th, like, I would really love that. If you could just like do that, that'd be great. You know, could you do that, please? Ballad of Never After really changed the trajectory of my life. I'm not even joking. I know it sounds dramatic, but if you also read books, then you know the feeling. So then after that, I was in the mood to pick up a book from a series that I'm rather slow at reading, because they're very character based, and that was A Long Way Down by Kristen and Becca Ritchie, and this is the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series, and this is a 5-star series for me. I have been going through this series for like a year, and this is Daisy and Reich's last book, and it's actually the last book technically in it, and I gave this book a 5 stars. Like, I felt like this was, it was only appropriate. Like, this book truly was a 5 stars. I loved this book. The things that the people go through in this series, like, I can't even comprehend, honestly. Like, it was so good. I really enjoyed this book, and this might be my most heavily annotated book of the series. Like, I really loved it. So then comes the last book I read this month, and that is After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this book is about a couple who is struggling. They're a married couple, and they're struggling, and they decide to take a year apart from each other to try and like find their way back to each other, and basically like learn how to love again and see if they even meet each other. And you kind of just follow the MC in this book, and you just follow the main character Lauren, basically just going through her POV of the year that they're apart. And I enjoyed this book. I gave this book a 4 stars. I think that if you are not married, or if you are not really interested in like marriage, then you're not gonna really enjoy this book, because you're not gonna be able to like relate to it or like understand the insight of it. You might enjoy it, but yeah, I actually annotated this book because the quotes were so good. I mean, it's Taylor Jenkins Reid. Like, her books, her writing is just so amazing and so top tier. Like, the way that this book was constructed, the pacing, the way it's just so good. So yeah, I give this book 4 stars. I rather enjoyed it. So that was the end of my May wrap up. If you guys enjoyed, please like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll leave some things in the description box if you are interested in following me on other social medias or anything. No pressure at all. But I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. Bye.